Welcome to the Thursday Night 9, your weekly hangout with the Amateur Players Tour. Join hosts Matt Mender and Matt Fegley as they dive into recaps, rules, and what's coming up next across the tour. It's by the players, for the players, and it all starts right now, live on the Thursday Night 9.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Thursday Night 9. I'm your host, Matt Mender, here with Tim Harbin, Atlanta and Birmingham chapter owner, also valued member of the competition committee. So we're excited to have you. Want to welcome everybody that's tuning in tonight. Should be fun. I'll be honest, I'm a little bit displaced. This isn't the home office you guys are used to seeing me when we're at home. We've had storms impact the area around the office, and so we were without power at the house until about 5 minutes ago. But so I'm at the in-laws hanging out on the back patio tonight, enjoying a beautiful evening. And Tim, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing good. Sounds like you're doing better than you thought we were going to be when I talked to you earlier, and you said it's going to be tomorrow before you got power back. So that's always a positive.
No, absolutely.
Sounds like you are dealing with some weather like we get down here in Alabama. You know, you never know when a storm's coming through or a tornado or whatever's coming through and going to knock everything loose.
Yeah, it's been interesting. We've been talking about that. You know, tornado alleys typically, Kansas, Oklahoma, those type of places when you think about Tornado Alley. But Illinois has actually had more tornadoes than anywhere in the country this year, and it's not slowing down. We had a ton yesterday. We had a ton last week, and we're just happy. We had some pretty big stuff coming right towards the office, and we were a little worried. But fortunately, it skipped just to our north and then another one just to our south. And so we're locked and loaded and ready to keep rolling.
Good deal. From someone that's been through that and actually been in a structure when a tornado hit, it's not a good feeling.
No, been there, done that. I did that as a third grader myself, and so there's just a healthy respect for that. I'm like, give me like people. No offense to our friends on the East Coast and West Coast, but I will tell you that I'd much rather deal with hurricanes than tornadoes. So any day of the week.
Definitely. And luckily here in Alabama, we have a very good weatherman that's great when it comes to tornado. And we have a saying here in Alabama, fear the suspenders, because when the jacket comes off and the suspenders go on, that's when you know it's a bad day.
That's a good way to look at it. Well, we didn't have many bad days this last weekend. We're largest major we've ever ran, 2-day major. 203 players at Ambrier Golf Course in St. Louis. So it's kind of fun. The birthplace of the APT, had the whole golf course all weekend and ran 203 players through without any issue whatsoever. Skirted some weather on Saturday and weather's absolutely beautiful on Sunday. But Friday event, Folds of Honor Friday, a Monday event at Gateway National in St. Louis. On Monday, and then 203 players for the weekend. So it was a ton of fun. We got some winners to go through. And, Division I, no surprise. He's been the top dog in St. Louis for a long time, a Division I champion, Ryan Eckelkamp. So got it done. I'm not looking at the leaderboard, but a little bit of a 69 on Saturday. And, one of the fun things about weather and not being in the office is you get this little one. Say hi to everybody. Can you say hi to Tim?
Hi, Collins.
Say hi, APT. APT. Good job. Let's see your mom. So you get a little family night going on over here. So had lots of people in from all over the country. I think 100 people traveling in from across the country, Tim, and it was a good time. I know you've been down to Ambrier, haven't you?
I have been to Ambrier. That was when I first started running tours. I come up there and helped run the major there 1 year. And I love that golf course. I hate that every time you schedule the major there now, it seems like I've got an event that same weekend and can't get back up there. I do want to get back up there. I feel like I owe that golf course something now that I've played it a couple of times. And I'll say this about Ryan. I've had the luxury of playing with Ryan a few years ago on a practice round for something else we've got coming up later this year. But he is one of the smoothest golfers I've ever played.
Yeah, he is.
Where he wanted to the day I played with him, still shot 2 under.
Right. No, he's He's quite solid. I know in a practice round a couple years ago, he put up a 60 at Ambrier with a par on hole 5, which 5, I will tell you, is the easiest par 5 maybe in the entire state of Illinois for a player of his caliber. It's driver mid iron a lot of days, and he made par on that hole and then proceeded to shoot 60, which is pretty impressive. But he finished at 200 par, 69.73. Of note, second place went to Barney Sutley, 2-day total of 1 over par. He's playing really good. Won, at the major at Omni Bedford Springs. Third place went to Ed McDougal. Got a win on Monday in D1. Almost chased me down on Friday in the event. So Ed's been playing really well.
Talk about two contrasting styles between Ed and Ryan. Jesus, I don't know that they get much different there.
Yeah, certainly Ryan bombs it, and Ed's just plodding along, playing really good. And so it was a really good tournament. Division 2, lots of competition there. This one has got all kinds of player of the year race. Certainly in St. Louis, 1 and 2 in the player of the year race in Division 2. And now 5 and 6. I just looked it up in the national player of the year race to finish. It's Todd Fearhocken getting his second major win. Todd, super proud of him. A guy that started in Division 3, he's worked his way up, went from 3 to 2, kind of went through the struggles of really having to figure out, it can be a big jump when, it takes, 72, 73, 74 sometimes to win these golf tournaments. And so he's kind of went through it. He got a win at Omni Bedford Springs a couple years ago. That kind of was his first big win in D2. Won the Myrtle Beach Holiday Classic this year in December, and now adding a major kind of in the hometown, which was really cool. Shot even par on day 1. And then Lingenfelter, day 2, shot 80 in round 1, was 8 back, but put up a 75 in some brutal wind conditions on Sunday. He got all the way back to 11 over. Matt Borgmeyer is back playing on tour a lot. He finished tied for second as well. And then Matt Rawling from Iowa, 1 shot back at 12 over. And then Dave Adams wrapping out the top 5, 13 over. So really competitive Division 2. Division 3, man, 64 players in D3.
That's crazy. That's a good tournament for a lot of chapters for us, and that's across all 5 divisions, much less just one individual division.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So 64 in D3, and a standout victory, Scott Harper, 77-81 from Millstat, Illinois, just down the road. So I'm sure he gets quite a few rounds at Ambrier in 77-81. To really separate himself. And honestly, I haven't seen the handicap report yet. I didn't look at it last night. Obviously, we did not have power or access to get on your call, but I'm assuming that his efforts got him promoted to Division 2.
The name sounds familiar, so I'm assuming that that's probably what it was as well.
Absolutely.
Is he relatively new to the tour? I'm not familiar with Scott.
Relatively new. He's right at that validation stage, so he's right there. But had played some other tours, had been a 10-5 with them forever. And so we had a lot of good data on him for those that are checking the gen. You know what I mean? 8.9, just so you know. Had another tour index that was a 10-5 for those that are wanting to know if we do check. Sometimes it's fun to question. We do look all that stuff up. Tie for second, Mike Birch had a great season in St. Louis. And James Heath finished 8 shots back. James Heath actually turned around and won. We'll talk a little bit about that tonight. The Swag Golf Club event at NCR. Him and Tricky Nicky Hardesty showed up at NCR and won the 36-hole Swag event.
So they made the commute in reverse of what you did then. They come to Illinois, then back to Kentucky for the Swag event.
Yep, up to Dayton. It's about a 5-hour drive, and so that was fun. But 64 players. And 11 spots got paid, so everybody through T13 taking home a payout in Division 3. Division 4, another good one that earned him his promotion. This guy is validated, super proud of the effort, and so put up 81-81 back-to-back. 2 really, really solid rounds. Very doable at Ambrier. This is kind of the fun part about competition committee stuff. We'll talk about some of these handicaps later and how we get to them. But really, really solid performance now going to D3. and so he'll be taking stuff there, earned himself a win. Second place, Baxton Owen, which is his second runner-up. He was a runner-up at the Red Rock Championship out of Black Desert, lost in a playoff, and so he's had a really good season going. And then James Chambers played really well. He ran away with the senior net. Has been struggling a little bit. Played a ton of tournament rounds with this year and had a fantastic round one. And his round two was good enough to get him a tie for second. Duke Price is new this year. He's playing really well in a tie for fourth. And then Joey Effial, good old Joey Fial from West Virginia. Love Joey. He finished tied for fourth at plus 28. And so Dan Happel finished sixth at 30 over par. And then Brad Forsyth, David Dick, and I'm looking at first names, just make sure I don't screw up. Ryan Gibson all finish in a tie for seventh at 31 over. Brad Forsyth and David Dick are two of the guys that have been in our Fly Flex. So this year, one is locked for the season, so you can kind of see how they're competing when it comes to that. And so I think that's another interesting thing we can talk through a little bit later.
Yeah, Joey's another one of those guys that's in that Flight Flex as well. So he is, again, like you said, he is in right now. He is in the first stage of Flight Flex because he is just now after this event entering into it. He's not in the season long yet, even though he qualifies for it. So it's
gotcha.
Again, we've got two stages of that. So
it's going to be fun to go through, and this is where it gets interesting. I've got some handicap things. I think it's a good example. And keep in mind that Ambrier, especially in perfect scoring conditions, which we got a fantastic afternoon on Saturday afternoon for golf. A little bit of rain softened the golf course up. There was no wind. The greens were the best I've ever seen them. And there were some very, very good scores going on round one. Round two, not so much. A little bit more difficult conditions. Shorter Lingenfelter 75. That was pretty solid from him. Scores were much higher on Sunday. But Mark Smith getting his first national major win. He's been kind of knocking on the door in St. Louis, at or near the points lead there. And so he got the win, shot a fantastic round of 86. Another guy that's highly validated that played really, really good. Roger Eberline, second place runner-up at 41 over. He's been knocking down the door this year. This is the best season he's had in the last couple of years. He's competed really, really well. And then Aaron Holman from Columbus coming over finished in third. So he played really well as well. And so lots of good things in D5. Once again, 203 players. And so there was just a lot of competition, a lot of points up for grabs. Certainly going to shape some player of the year races going forward.
Yeah, had to reestablish some points matrix, I believe, for some of those divisions.
Correct. For the senior net, especially, we had to get that done. So it's fun. Getting everything built out to 120 now. It's a great sign of growth. We're super excited about it. So going through Mid-Am Net, no surprise, some of the guys that played exceptionally well are going to be at the top there. Scott Solly, who got himself validatedly promoted. We'll call it validatedly promoted at this point of the season to Division 3. 2 4-under net back-to-back rounds, which is just a really good sign that he's playing some really good golf. And also, he's been working hard on it, trying to get to the next level, and he's accomplished that. So congratulate to him. Scott Harper in second, Matt Rowling, Joey Fial, T third. And, really when it comes down to net, 4 under is about the line of, hey, I played a really, really good round. You know what I mean? Before it gets into that once in a while exceptional rounds, they do happen. Like, that's the hard part about handicapping, is they do happen. Like, so for example, James Chambers, hats off to him, net 63 on Saturday.
Wow.
Net 63.
That's playing well for yourself there.
So one of those things, like, we talked about handicap. I was actually talking with some of the USGA handicap guys about, they're like, look, man, especially in the higher handicap divisions, low scores are going to happen once. When they happen a second time, you got to make an adjustment. You know what I mean? And so followed it up with a 2 under net to finish at 11 under, get a 6-shot win. Jason Dale playing really good, second at 5 under. Barney Sutley, like I said, he played really good to get runner-up honors in D1 and third. And then Mark Smith and Doyle Duke Price rounded out the top 5 at -2, and then our Division II champion was in 6th place at even par. And so one of the things about the net games that I love is you go down into, plus 3 was within the cut line for prize for the
Yeah.
weekend. So you shoot even par, you're gonna into your handicap, you're gonna take home some money in the net game. 90%.
And the other thing I liked in there, especially when you're calling out the senior net guys, there was a D5 guy, there was a D1 guy, there was a D2 guy. I'm sure there was a D3 and D4. You just didn't mention them specifically.
Yeah, we named all five flights in the top 8. So there'd be Division 4, Division 3, Division 1, Division 5, Division 4, Division 2, Division 2, Division 5.
Yeah, that means we're doing something right, guys. For the ones of y'all that think, because I'm sure you deal with it too. I have some D1 guys and even some D2 guys that show up and say, why would I want to play in that game? Because we do it the right way, and everybody's getting a fair shot at that point. So
100%.
We validate everything.
25 tournament rounds this season.
Yeah.
And put something up 9 shots better than anything he had shot the rest of the season. So take your hats off. Nobody – I love the knee-jerk reaction sometimes. Nobody is tanking 25 shots intentionally to win a net game. No one's doing it.
Correct,
Once or twice, maybe. You know what I mean? But 25 nobody's doing that 25 times. So hats off to James Chambers. I thought he played fantastically well. It's always fun to see people put it together, and you're going to have that once in a while. You know what I mean? It's not going to be once in every 5 rounds, and it's probably not going to happen again anytime soon. But, when the round comes together, hats off. I think it's one of the things that's really important. And we've went through this for several years now, and kind of curious your thoughts on it, and you've been in competition committee since day one. Since we brought the competition committee out of our office and brought in chapter owners and players, you were one of the first people we called. And so, we started from anytime somebody played an exceptional round, we looked at DQing them. We had arguments over some of the DQs that we probably don't even want to mention because we still feel, you know what I mean? Like, certainly made some mistakes in the early DQ'd some people we shouldn't. Yes. Probably didn't DQ some people we should have. But from the same standpoint to now, we've come to the idea of validation protects you from an individual tournament being disqualified. So why don't you talk a little bit why you think that's important?
So you hit it on the head. To me, that's the most important thing we've done as a handicap committee is we've gone through the mistakes. The one you're talking about that comes to mind, the Stream song a few years ago, and I still have nights where I don't feel comfortable about that. But we learned from it. We've moved on, and now if you're validated with us, if you're in D5 and you can shoot a 68 one day, guess what? It doesn't matter. Go shoot that 68. I don't see it happening, but you're not going to get disqualified for it. Go play your best round of golf you can possibly play, and know that because you have spent the time with us and we've been able to do the research and see everything on you, that you're not going to get disqualified that day. And even as you go through and once we have a few rounds on you, you're a lot less likely to get disqualified. We've made a conscious effort to spend time up front vetting these people. Everyone gets, point in time. It does, if you hadn't those out, we're going to ask you to fill it out. You're going to get a T assignment. You're going to get all these things before you play your first event. More than likely, you're going to be fine unless we find something after the fact. That's as long as you're open and honest with us and we can do our vetting properly, go play your best round of golf. You're not going to get punished.
Don't be the guy that's playing a second round that didn't bother to fill out the handicap questionnaire that we sent to you 6 times and then show up and shoot an exceptional round. Like, that's not going to happen. And so I think there's a lot, and that was really the base idea, of once again, a lot of feedback. Like Jody and I, as we built this thing, we started with the idea of this was, we were players. The reason we decided to do this is we were players that thought there needed to be something better in the marketplace that was more player focused, that was more focused on fair competition, that was, just focused on different things than what we saw in the marketplace, right? Better experiences at the local level, better experiences at majors, a national championship, player of the year races that actually mattered. And so that's kind of morphed, right, over the years. And this new thing that we're doing, we've always had some sort of flight flex. We played with it for 5 years and just said, hey, and the whole idea behind it was there was nothing worse than the handicap call the night before or the week before local finals. You know what I mean? You just waited for Fegley to produce the handicap report and said, what guy has been in their division all year is going to get screwed this time around? And we got through, 5 instances of that and talking to players. And we're just like, we've got to do something different because nobody likes this. The people that get promoted feel completely screwed over. The people that they're playing against, it leaves a bad taste in their mouth for something they're trying to win fair and square. And the only people that like this whole deal is the people that are sitting on the edge manipulating their handicaps, watching the decent competition get bumped to the next division before the local final, right? And so there had to be a better way. And so we started as we rethought this thing going through these rules, listening to our players, is that, if we're working on a thing, we want player of the year races that matter. We've got to look at our tour and we've got to look at handicapping. And this is what's big when we still get emails with questions about handicapping all the time for guys in Flight Flex. And the number one thing that I don't think some people understand I want to talk about is if we believe, right? And so you got to go back to vision and purpose. And this is one of the things I think is missing in not just the golf business, but any business across the country, right? Is what is your vision? What is your purpose? Why do you exist? Right. And so, because everything you do and every policy you make, every rule you put in place has to support that vision. Well, our vision is we want a tour where our national championship matters, that is comprised of the best players that have played their division all year long. You know what I mean? We want a tour where player of the year matters, right? Those player of the year races actually mean something. And it's not just a snapshot of whoever's in that division each week. You know what I mean? And you get kicked out, all that stuff. If that's the case, and we've built everything else around it. It's why we send invites to signature majors. It's why we send invites to the national championship. It's why we have eligibility requirements for the national championship. It's why we don't try to fill our national championship with 800 players. You know what I mean? We want it to be the best experience of the year for the people that deserve to be there. That's the goal. And if all that's true, we have to look at our handicaps as a series of events and not just an event, right? And so you and I and Fegley, who may be popping on at any point, just so you know, he is delayed and in the air on Delta flight. He keeps texting me. He goes, I might be on if I get landed. You might get him from the line to leave the airplane. But if you look at when we started to look at our data from a series of events standpoint, there's a lot of stuff that stuck out that led to this whole Flight Flex thing. And so far it's working out great, but I was curious kind of what you thought was interesting in that data, Tim, and how you think things are working out and kind of what you're excited about and what you're watching for the most.
Yeah, so one of the things that when you look at the data, and Fagley knows it better than I do because he's keeping up with numbers and everything, but as of last night, I think we maybe have 15, 18 people across the entire tour that are labeled in Flight Flex. Some have hit it and went back into their original division. Some have hit it and continued on to improve and went down into the higher level of competition. And what's fun to see is those guys that go through, when they get it together, they don't just stop there at the level and be bad in that next division. They're actually competing to win the divisions because they figured something out in their head. That's why they're making the change, and that's what we're trying to do, in my opinion. Is we're the ones that belong in the lower divisions, and we know for a fact, and that's kind of where this started from too. Is we knew a lot of people that were getting dinged by 1 or 2 tenths of a point that we knew didn't belong in that newer division. So this gives them a chance to figure it out. And so, the ones that go back typically go back and don't come back in very often. I think we're on our second player that has hit it multiple times this year. And so just looking at the different things like that's what kills me. And of those 2 guys that have hit it multiple times this year, the reason they've hit it multiple times is because they actually qualify for the season-long Flight Flex at this point. But because they haven't needed those particular extra things, we haven't really looked at them in those categories yet. So
Yeah, I think the numbers. I mean, obviously, we took an educated guess at the numbers to start this. Nobody's ever done it. You go play any one of our competitors, um, and you hit
wait, Matt,
point
I
one
thought
at
we
any
used the
player.
harmonic mean for this.
I'm not even going to say the harmonic mean. I wasn't going to say it. I've actually forgot. Last week I had to ask Fegley what the term was. I couldn't even remember it. So don't judge me. But what I think is interesting from the standpoint of, we kind of had to make an educated guess the numbers, because all of our competitors, you go point one under and you're screwed in the next division. They don't care. And,
Yeah.
We were like that because we didn't know any better. We were trying to figure it out, going through and figuring out there's got to be a better way, and what's interesting is the more we've taken time to actually dig into the data, I think a lot of times, like, there's not a lot of people digging into the data in it. And when they do dig into the data, it's not necessarily reliable data, like, and I don't want to pick on the USGA, but how many times do we get a handicap questionnaire where we place somebody based on their gin and we get an email back and say, I don't count penalty strokes, I don't putt 4-footers, and so if you're looking at that handicap data, even for exceptional rounds and all this stuff, like, it's really flawed from the standpoint of how do you know that it's tested? And so one of the unique things about looking at our APT tournament data, I think we had something like 40,000 rounds last year. So we're close to like 180,000 tournament rounds that's all attested that we can run for in our lifetime of this. You start to see some interesting things, right? And so one of the things we studied, we said last year, is the players that got promoted late from 3 to 2 that played the same tees, and from 5 to 4, we tracked what they would do in their old division. The Division 2 players, what they would have done if they had played in Division 3. And we're sitting there going, they're not running away with anything. I mean, they're going to be competitive because they're one of the best players in the country, but they're not running away with anything. And so there's a couple of things I think that are really interesting for those of you that like to nerd out on handicap stuff. And I know some of the people watching this do, is number one, to see what happens to our handicap indexes as a whole as the season progresses. The whole tour shifts from January to July 1st, everyone's getting better. And so if you don't account for that, and give any reason for that, all you're doing is you're shaving off the top half of your division to start the year, and they don't get to finish the division from a number standpoint, right? And so what the Flight Flex does is it allows that to do so, and you get more give the more tournaments you play. And so, the other piece to look at it like three-dimensionally is, the average APT member plays about 10 rounds a year. And some of our frequent players like a Samay or a Mike Lingenfelter or a Chris Yugi, or, there's a bunch of people that are just playing a lot. Nick Krause, they're playing 10 tournament rounds a month. You know what I mean? So in June, July, and August, they're playing almost 30 tournament rounds for their handicap. They're recycling what an average player plays in a year 3 times, but they're also doing it in the time of year where they're playing their best. And so their handicap's going lower, where the player that only plays 10 times a year, their rounds from January and February where they couldn't find the center of the face are still counting. And so that's why these players that play more deserve more flexibility, and it still actually stays within the division range. You know what I mean? And so that's why the Flight Flex is in. And like you said, what we've found in the data, I really think that the 0.5 for the 4-week Flight Flex, the 0.2 for the people not validated or not, they don't have complete indexes that are validated, that haven't played 20 rounds yet. And I even think the 1 for the frequent player provisions is the right number, because the people that are going through, they're blowing right through it and they're going to the next level and they're instantly competitive. But most people sit within there and they're still shooting scores. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I think I just think it's an interesting difference to, what you find out in any other amateur golf series across the country. It gives you the ability to play well. We're still promoting people. That's the other thing, is if you hit the frequent player provisions that require the season long, you're going to the next division to start the year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just, we're going to delay that promotion and give you a chance to finish the season you started.
And the other thing too, one thing that's kind of big that I want to touch on it as far as that goes, once you get into the season long, the frequent player provision portion of that, for those seniors that haven't read the manual, please understand that when you get into that portion, we're going to ask you to go back to the open tees. You'll have the option at that point, either go back to the open tees and stay in your current division, or just lose the flight flex and move up to the next division. Just again, because what's fair is fair, and you've proven that those forward tees are not necessarily a great fit for you in your current division. So
Correct. Yeah, and so it does a couple of things, because I know for the open tee guys, I know Chris is asking questions in the chat, so I'm going to ask you because you're the competition committee to get there. But this is one for the open tee guys. So the forward tee players that need a distance help to be competitive, that's the advantage you get. The open tee players, when you're playing the open tee division, obviously, as long as you qualify from the other factors, like we are watching. It's not some algorithm we do in AI. It is sometimes painful. I'll say this with Fegley not on the call. It is sometimes painful to go through the competition committee calls and have the debate and watch Fegley Google players' names, see what they're doing in other tours, go into their gen. I mean, if you're in the season-long Flight Flex, we're looking at you every single week. You know what I mean? We're making sure that there's there. If you're Division 4 Flight Flex and we find your gen's a 9, you know what I mean? And we can't verify that it's crap, like there's a good chance you're going to move. And so we are watching things to protect the field very close. But Chris had a good question in the chat. He goes, can previously relegated players get Flight Flex?
So that is a really good question, and it actually came up this week. So yes and no. As long as the way the manual is written is, as long as you have not went more than half a stroke below your division cutoff, then and been relegated, you can be relegated again as you move forward throughout the season. If you've went over a half a stroke below, then you cannot be relegated again with the season. It is a one-time deal at that point in time. And if you fall into the tier 2 or tier 3 flight flex, as we move forward for the frequent player provisions, you will start, like Matt said, you will start the season in the higher division the following season.
Well, I think it's interesting, and I'm glad that we're kind of going through this in a discussion tone, because not everybody likes to read the member manual, right? And some people tune into this. This can be a great distraction for a Friday morning at the office, right? You put the headphones in, you pretend like you're answering emails, and you're listening to this. So the relegation deadline's coming up in 3 weeks. And so I think it's important to talk about a couple of those factors, because one of the things that you've specifically come up in the relegation that's really good is, a lot of tours have a hard and fast rule. One of the tours is if you're unless you're 2 or more above, you can't relegate. We've taken a different approach to it, right? Because we found that things are different. Why don't you talk a little bit about that, and why would you potentially deny a relegation, or what makes it sometimes a home run when they're just 0.1 or 0.2 above the division line, and what are the factors you look at?
Yeah, so one of the things right here, the 0.1 above the division line is something that we dealt with this week. It was a gentleman in Division 1 that we have a lot of history on. He has been a Division 2, 3 player historically. He played from the forward tees, got promoted to Division 1, and is playing the Division 1 forward tees at this point. So we were looking at his data, and since he's been promoted to those tees, he's not throwing anything even close to a competitive D2 score up. So we're actually agreed to relegate him, even though he's 1/10 above, because when you re-look at it and we start putting those scores in from the D2 open tees instead of the D1 forward tees, his index actually goes up about 1.3 or 1.3
Right.
index.
And
So
obviously
instead of a 3.5,
he's not relegating back to the D2 silver tees. He's relegating to the D2 green tees, which is the open tee.
Correct. So what we're going to look at is, what tees are you playing? What tees are you going to be playing when you relegate back? Is it a tee difference? Are you going to be going from 3 to 4? And so if you're a Division 3 player and you're going to be going, and you're an open tee player and you're going to be going to Division 4 open tee players, you're probably not going to get relegated at 0.1 above. Just be knowing that, because we know we have enough history from looking at this as long as we've looked at it that
Right.
you're going to shoot lower scores at that point once you get that T bump, and that's going to put you right back in the division. So we look at it. We'll go through. We did this a couple of times this week where we actually projected scores for the next couple of rounds and seeing what guys could shoot.
I know
Does
that
it taking out of the
freaks
score?
I know that freaks people out, but let's just simplify it a little bit. So,
Yeah.
and this is where it's interesting because I came from one of the other tours and I know how relegation, even promotion discussions went and still go on, right? Is if you're not actively looking at what's going on and what scores are shooting, it can be really confusing. It can be a lot of data. And, one of the things that the competition committee, I'm so proud of the work that you and Fegley and Joe and our players have put into it is really understanding what happens. And one of the things that it's hard to account for, but when you get into a division where you feel like you're competitive into it from a division that you don't think you're competitive, you always play better. And so you guys came up with a little bit of an algorithm to just take what the low index of what you're going to shoot, who you've put up in your index, and it's almost guaranteed that in one of the first two rounds that index is going to come back up.
Yeah.
Especially if you move distances. If you don't move distances, it's still probably going to happen, but it's more likely if you're moving forward a set of tees. And so what we look at is if you play really good in one of your first two rounds coming back, and that's going to put you in the division that you're currently in, we're just going to say no.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And so it's just one of those things like we want to make sure when we make a move, it's not for one round or two rounds. It's going to be something that you're going to be in a division. And do we always get it right? No. But, it's certainly, I mean, even from 3 years ago, we used to relegate and then promote people back like probably what, 50, 60% of the time?
Yeah, it
Within the
was
first
bad.
couple of weeks. I mean, it was
I,
bad.
I will say this: we were not good at what we did when we started 3 or 4 years ago.
Well, that's because it never been done. I mean, we were better than what was out there because what was out there
That's
wasn't.
fair.
But
That's
I mean,
fair.
it's a lot of data. It's a ton of work by these guys. Like I really wish sometimes, every once in a while, I want to have a section on these things called mean tweets, emails sent to the competition committee, and then just like read them out so people can enjoy them. Probably more than we enjoy them. I do get a chuckle from now and then. But just understand, like, if you're new, the time that goes into it, and the whole goal is we want to keep you in a division that you're competitive in, but we also want to protect the field, and that's a constant. It's a constant balancing act, and and so we look at the data. I remember there was a guy in Division 4. There was a big complaint about this guy at the APT Players Championship. He went from 3 to 4 right before PGA National. And when we looked at him, like all the data was move him. He was like almost 2 shots above the index line. Like he hadn't done anything. Like his gin was in line with Division 4. So we moved him. And of course he comes out through 12 holes. And granted, he moved so late that he was playing behind his division. We'd already sent out pairings for the major. So so he's like 8 over through 12 and leading the tournament by 4. And so I just can't believe blah, blah. And then he finished like 17 over in round 1 and didn't even place. You know what I mean? And so just trust that we are looking at stuff. Anytime we relegate somebody back, we're also taking a look at other data. They're playing on another tour. What's their gin? All of that. Chris makes a good point. And this is really where the USGA model gets a little bit off and it gets tricky, but playing the right tees affects your index by a lot. And so we can get into the theory of that all day long. I'll try not to bore everybody on that tonight. I did see Scott had a nice thing to say about us, Scott. Scott, if you're still on, put in the chat what chapter you're in. Love to give a shout out to your chapter owner. It is good information here. I don't know if I've met Scott yet. So we're certainly traveling around the country, but haven't got everywhere yet. So trying to keep the wife from killing me with the travel schedule. So Buzz is in the chat. I will tell you, Collins has now learned to say buzz. We say buzz all day long. It's like her favorite word. So
that's another thing that we've done. And Buzz reminded me seeing Buzz on there reminded me of what we did with Chad Davis this year. So I'm kind of curious if we've had a chance to look at him and see how he's doing in his since he has had a chance to move to the forward team.
Hey, Scott's your guy in Atlanta. I don't believe it if he's saying nice things about
No,
you.
there's no way. Things are not going good in Atlanta. Come on. Oh, me. Scott, I'm sorry I didn't recognize the name. That's on me.
So I'm not making fun of you.
I wear a lot of different hats. What turn? I'm just out of curiosity now.
In your defense, he doesn't have a profile picture. So
Okay,
you can't see. I'll save you on that.
But I'm supposed to recognize names. But anyway,
you should. So, but yeah, it'll be good. Trying to think what else we got to cover. We talked about swag for a minute. So a great event in NCR. Just so you know, y'all missed out. 36 hole at NCR while we're getting there. Half scramble on the north course, half 4-ball on the south course. So 36 holes one day. I will tell you, I've been there at Casey's event a ton of times in April, and it's always fantastic. But we played it the day after their member guest, and it was elite. So,
yeah, that's I have had the luxury of playing that golf course in the past as well for the 2-day or the 2 rounds in one day 36 hole challenge that Casey likes to put on. I think it's the only golf course I've ever played in rain that I said, if it's the only way I get to go play this, I will do it every time I'm asked to go play it.
Good.
Because it was just fantastic.
They just redid the north course too and put a ton of money, ton of restoration into it. And it is, I think, honestly, the feedback, people liked it as much or more than the South.
You know, Casey was always one of those that would, he gave the analogy of the prom queen versus the girl next door between the north and the south course. And I think it was the perfect analogy, but it sounds like it may not be anymore.
No, they're both the prom queen for sure. So it'd be really, really good. But yeah, so a couple events coming up. One in Chicago, June 29th, Hawthorne Woods. One at St. Louis at Wing Haven on July 6th, which we got a St. Louis local event there on the 13th. So we got a chance to do that. Back in Chicago in July. And then in August, we're at Pine Island in Charlotte for you Southeast guys, first one. And then later in August, we're going to be up in New Jersey at Stanton Ridge. 2 awesome, awesome golf courses. And so lots of fun coming up there. And so, yeah, it'll be fun. So we got that going as well. So we've covered Ambrier. We've covered quite a bit of the Flight Flex things, you know, which I think people are really starting to understand and like. We've heard a lot of good feedback. Certainly would love to hear your guys' thoughts on the Flight Flex. It's kind of interesting. You know, we had a lot of people in the field in a really big event at Ambrier with people in the Flight Flex, and it kind of worked out just kind of how we thought it would. So, and Fegley's in the chat, so we got to stop talking crap about him.
Oh well, he's in one of my cities in Atlanta, and talk about bad airports. Jesus, I do not envy anyone having to scramble through that airport.
Yeah, if anyone ever described the APT as Atlanta Airport, I would be distraught on what we needed to do to fix our operations. I'll put it that way. So, love the airport hotel in Atlanta. Love flying in to see you. Chris goes, of course, you got to talk about the North American Championship. I am super excited for both the North American Championship and the Senior North American Championship. I'm most disappointed that I can't play both of them. Let's start with the Senior. So we can talk about Universal Retirement Senior North American Championship, September 22nd and 23rd. Greyhawk Raptor. So PGA Tour, former PGA Tour venue, former NCAA championship venue, hosted the Barstool Classic last year. Just about as good as it comes from golf courses in Arizona.
Yeah, so I'm at a complete disadvantage to that about those. I've never played those. I've only played a little bit of desert golf. I am going to rectify that come September. But yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing everyone's opinions of those golf courses based on everything I've heard. I've talked to Rich a little bit about them, and so I've got some kind of knowledge from that standpoint. But I'm looking forward to it. I think we're going to showcase something completely different and completely special this year at our North American Championship that we haven't done yet.
Yeah, I'll say this: it's going to be the best golf of any North American Championship venue we've had, and I don't mean any offense to our prior venues that have all had great golf courses. Some of my favorite golf courses that we play have been in our North American Championship rotation, but I would put these golf courses collectively are just really, really, really good. So in the Senior North American Championship, you've got Greyhawk, which I just gave you its accolades. The second golf course is Eagle Mountain. That's probably one of the sneaky of my favorite golf courses anywhere in Phoenix. And Phoenix is loaded with fantastic golf. My nickname for Eagle Mountain is Baby Troon. It is managed by Troon, but it has got some of the best views of anywhere in Phoenix. It's a fun golf course to play. It's always in great shape. It's scoreable. It'll be a great championship test. And Chris says great breakfast, and he's not wrong. So one round Eagle Mountain, one round at Greyhawk Raptor is going to be really special.
Yeah, that one I did not. That was my first introduction to desert golf. Was last June when we played Eagle Mountain for Rich's Friday event, and
Right.
I fell in love with it. And
By the way, Josh
we'll
Crossan
get-
shot like 60. Was it 61 that day or 60?
yeah, it was.
So all I remember is I'm not used to playing okay and getting beat by 15. Yeah, I was just like, okay,
Yeah.
congratulations. And I just played with him like a week earlier. And he couldn't break 80, and then he puts like a 60. I'm like, okay, hello, welcome to learning how to putt. Apparently, because it was impressive round of golf. So two great courses. Registration opens, invites are getting ready to get sent out for everybody. July 9th, priority exemption, just like the North American Championship. And then, we'll answer Mike's question, the Arizona attorney. North American Championship. We're playing the number one golf course in Weekapaw, guys, or in Arizona at Weekapaw. So the Saguaro course is widely rated the number one golf course in Arizona. That's over TPC, that's over Quintero, that's over True North, that's over Greyhawk. You know what I mean? You can just keep going down the list of impressive golf courses in the Phoenix area. And Weekapaw Saguaro is number one. Weekapaw Cholla is the other course. I think it's rated number 6. I'll be honest, between the two, I'm probably picking Cholla. I can't wait to hear your guys' opinion. But Cholla's just got a character to it that I absolutely love. That's one of my favorite places anywhere in the country to play. Is Weekapaw. Their staff's great, the golf course great, and everyone in the field, all 360 players, are going to be at both of the Weekapaw courses on the weekend. So you're going to get one round at Saguaro, one round at Cholla, and then Friday, each division will be at a different course. So 1 and 5 will be at Papago. Division 2, which Papago is, by the way, the home of the Arizona State Sun Devils. In case Rich is watching, I did correct it for this week. I said Arizona State and then gave Arizona's mascot last week. I can't even say it out loud. We did manage to negotiate so he didn't quit based on that comment. But Division 2 is at Lookout Mountain. It's a Hilton property. Really cool golf course. Probably some of the best views on a golf course anywhere. Division 3 is at my sleeper course in Phoenix, and that's Aguila. It's a sister course to Papago, just south in the valley. A great golf course, super fun to play. I think we'll see some low scores there. It's a good golf course. And then Division 4 is at Los Sendas. And so it's going to be a lot of fun. But
so I'm actually looking forward to that. You're going to lose someone that's worked every national major since they became a national championship since they become a chapter owner. Because I am not helping this year. I'm actually going to enjoy the golf and play for the first time since Pinehurst. So I'm looking forward to that again because again I've fell in love with desert golf, and so I'm looking forward to it. I think everyone should be looking forward to this as much as I am.
Right. Sorry, I'm making faces at Collins. She's trying to figure out how to get back outside. Mom's keeping her in. So we're having fun as we finish this up. So anyways, yeah, it's going to be a fantastic time. So to get in, you can earn priority exemptions. All of this is in our member manual. Recommend people read it, or our North American Championship homepage. Everything's there as well. So go to aptgolf.org. It's the second thing down on the homepage. There's a whole North American Championship page. You can click on, and it'll give you all the information on that. So that's going to be really good. As far as trying to think, as far as that, it opens to all APT members on July 30th. It's a Thursday night. For those with priority exemptions that are clicking, it opens at 7 p.m. Central. It's going to open on the Thursday night 9 on July 9th. It opens to all members on July 30th. Same time, 7 p.m. Central on the Thursday night 9. It does typically fill quick when it opens to all members. You've got to complete 6 tournament rounds within the season. You don't have to have 6 done to sign up, but you got to have 6 done before the championship. So always reach out to us. We have made crazy exceptions for medical and stuff like that. But if you don't have 6 rounds in, just understand you are going to be the most vetted player in the history of amateur golf before we let you play in your division. So expect a phone call, all of those things. We do have certain things in to protect the integrity of the field. But you can get in as a member. I will say I would not be sitting around until August 15th and think you're going to register. You want to make sure that you're on and ready to go. It typically has a history of selling out about 4 days after it opens to everybody. It's usually gone. So you want to make sure if you're on the priority list that you register during the time. Just like any other major, we do have a deposit balance function, so you don't have to pay the full boat up front. You can pay a deposit. John Blackburn said, I'm hoping to get 6 in. He had 6 in like this month. So, but it's pretty funny you're seeing that. Collins is standing at the door crying because she can't come outside. So I'm like, do I let her outside for the last couple minutes of this, or what do we do? So Tim, stall for a minute. I'm just gonna.
Yeah. So,
well, if it goes again, we'll let her out.
Okay. Well, I was going to bring up, one of the things that people are starting to ask me about that got the invitations in the mail last year is, hey, when are the invitations coming out again? It's a small little touch that y'all do that I think means a lot to the players. So you want to touch on that?
Yeah, so super excited. I actually finalized the design today. So once everything locks for invitations on July 8th. And so once we get to, I don't even believe there's a tournament on the 8th. So all the tournaments will conclude on the 7th. We'll award points. And then invites will go out in the mail shortly after. It's a quick turn. You also get an email invite with the ability to register starting July 9th. But it is pretty cool to get the North American Championship invitation in the mail and be able to open that up. The other thing we need to talk about is the Champions Dinner presented by Sterling Cut Glass. It's going to be back this year. Jersey was finalizing the menu and the dates. We're waiting to confirm that. We'll get that information out. But Friday, September 18th, that is for North American champions, senior North American champions, and national players of the year only. It's an elite club. I think last year was like 35 people that were able to attend. And so we'll have a special night for y'all. It certainly makes it worth making the trip back after you win the big one. It's going to be a lot of fun. But we'll get some more information about that. Adega Guacha last year was pretty elite for the Champions Dinner. So this year's going to be a little bit more of a Arizona desert theme with the food and the cuisine, but it's going to be an equally great time.
Yeah, and for those of y'all that think chapter owners get all the perks and all the advantages, chapter owners don't get invites to that one. So
and they all talk about it. So cool. Stall for just a second. I'm going to stop the screaming.
Yeah. So one thing I'm looking in the chat here, guys, and I'm seeing a lot of people from the Central Georgia chapter on tonight, talking about the Atlanta National event this weekend. Caleb and Tony are hosting an event, 44 players, one of their bigger events of the year, I believe. They're a smaller chapter getting up and running. I know I'm going over with some Birmingham guys. I know a lot of Atlanta guys. I think I even saw a Kentucky guy was coming down as well talking about it. So I've not played that particular golf course, but that same ownership group owns 4 or 5 in the area, and they're all supposed to be really good. So I'm looking forward to that. Heard some feedback from some people I trust earlier that the golf course is in great shape this week. So I'm looking forward to that.
Cool. Absolutely. Chris added a question, and we can go to questions. Wives are absolutely invited to the Champions Dinner. You will be getting a separate invite for the Champions Dinner this year. We're going to get those mailed out as well. And we're looking forward to a really cool night. It's really just fun to kind of celebrate. To win a National Player of the Year is hard. I mean, you're not just beating everybody in your chapter, in your division, but you've got to beat everybody in the country, and somebody always has a great season. It's volatile, so local finals flip it a lot. So you got to perform well at your local finals, and then perform well on the biggest stage when it matters. And so it's a really cool, unique. It's a fun club to exchange stories, and guys are talking about walking up the 18th with a one-shot lead. Some of the guys are in, they won the North American Championship in a playoff. And so it's just kind of cool to see everybody get back together. It's a really cool community, definitely worth striving for. A lot of times, like, the hardest part about running this thing for me, Tim, is trying to create a tour that I want to play on. And things like the Champions Dinner are things that I desperately want to be a part of as a player.
Yep.
So I'm always watching with jealousy. Now, as an owner, I do get to go to those. That is the perk of being the owner. Somebody's got to hand out the awards.
Yeah, yeah, that's the only perk. You get to go to one dinner. That's your only perk all year. So, but no, that's you're right. That's kind of the thing. I think I speak for a lot of the chapter owners. It's why we do this for the APT is because we believe in the vision, and we were players first. Like me, I came over to APT as a player before I became a chapter owner. And once I saw what y'all were doing, I wanted to be a part of it a lot, as much as I could dive into it. So, I think that can be said for a lot of the new chapter owners. We've went through and we've started new chapters all over the place. We've replaced some chapter owners, and we're getting the culture now that the players have brought in and brought over to that you've brought over to the APT, and they just want to grow it and want to be a family. I mean, that's what it boils down to: is everybody wants to be a family and wants to compete against each other and play their best and see everybody else succeed. So,
yeah, I mean, what's going on right now internally is really special within our chapter owners and the team, and the cohesiveness that we're building, and the extra things that are going in, and we're just in a really good spot. And I just want to let everybody know, as we kind of go through the season, I know a bunch of people are in saying really nice things about us, and those aren't lost on us, so thank you. But just know that we're not content by any stretch. The goal is to get a little bit better every time we run a golf tournament. What can we do? And we're we believe our best days are ahead for APT. We're working really hard on some things to continue to figure out ways to make competition more fair, to make the experience better for the players, to make it matter more. And we're continuing to implement those ideas. It's going to be 2026 has been a great season so far. We're really excited about 2027. I will say, this is my time of year to start teasing. The 2027 schedule is coming together nicely. And so certainly want to make sure to keep some weekends on the calendar clear. There's going to be some great events. A lot of the favorites are coming back. I know we've heard a lot of feedback from players of, they want new courses from time to time, but a lot of these great events, they just want to turn it into an annual trip. People have Airbnbs they want to stay at. They got their restaurants they want to go to, the people they see. And so we're hearing that. We're trying to make sure we keep your favorites every year, and then bring in some new events to just really have a great time with. I know we're bringing a few back that have been off the schedule for a couple of years in 2027 that I'm particularly excited about. And best is yet to come, man. It's going to be a good time. So
yeah,
you got a couple minutes for – go ahead, Tim. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, even one of the ones that we've been to a few times, we've changed up this year, like not Paynes, but like the Branson event coming up at Big Cedar. We took Paynes Valley off this year and put the other two courses, Buffalo Ridge and golly, I'm drawing a blank now, Ozark National, as the two courses. And not to say anything bad about Paynes Valley at all, but I think those are the better two courses on property up there. I think the guys that are traveling up there, other than just the fact that it's not Paynes, I think they're in for a lot better golf than what they have gotten the last couple of times we've been there.
So I know the czar's cooking on Adam, but I'm going to bring this comment up about the forward tees, because this is literally the most ridiculous argument. Hey, the PGA Tour does it this way, so you should do it in your North American Championship. The PGA Tour doesn't have 70-year-olds from the Champions Tour playing in its championship. We have handicaps that are established and fair based on the competition that's there, and we're going to use it for the smallest event of the year and the biggest event of the year. And we're not the PGA Tour. We have guys from +4 handicaps to 35 handicaps. We're setting flights based on division. We have people that are 16 at the young end playing our tour to 84 at the old end playing on our tour. It makes zero logical sense that we play everyone from the same tee, regardless. So we've worked really, really hard. Our competition committees worked really hard to establish a fair boundary for people to play. We've updated and improved the forward tee situation every single year to make sure that the handicapping is fair and the flights are fair. We can show you hundreds of thousands of rounds of data that prove it to be the case in the system that we've built, and we're proud to offer competition the way we do. And so I realize this comes up from somebody every year. We're not the PGA Tour, and we're not trying to be the PGA Tour. We're the APT, and part of our mission is to create a community of golfers that can compete fairly in divisions, and that incorporates figuring out how to let 25-year-olds play with 65-year-olds that have the same handicap. So that's why. There's my answer. Tim, is there anything you want to add to that?
No, I think you covered it, guys. And I'll say this though, I get it from a standpoint of the younger guys on tour, seeing a guy go up and be ahead of them. But hey, you've played with them all year. That's not new. It's not something we're introducing. So, and I hate to say it, but that's our model. That's what we feel like works best to go and make everyone competitive and where everybody fits into a spot.
And every piece of data shows it. And I'll just tell you, we'll use Division II for a minute, and all the people that complain about the guys in the forward tees. The guys that play the forward tees shoot 75 at the low end of the round. If you're worried about unfair competition, you should be worried about the open tee guys that show up with a 2 gin and try to sneak in. Almost every exceptional round we have in D2, which are the rounds that tick people off, they're not coming from forward tee players. I can assure you, because we track every single one of them. Like any round that goes below the exceptional round threshold, every single one of them in the past 2 years has been from someone playing the open tees. And so while, I can understand looking ahead and seeing somebody getting 20 yards on a par 4, their scores are consistently falling within the range. The forward tee players are typically more consistent in a tighter window than the open tee players, which is kind of standard if you understand age gaps. When I was 25, I was shooting 85 and I was shooting 68. Now I shoot 70 kind of at the low to about 79 at the high, unless something goes way off. So, but I will tell you that if you look at it, the exceptional rounds, the rounds that everybody's looking up somebody's gin, almost all of them are coming from open tee players. So there you go. That's the data. And the players playing the forward tee, like I said, I think is important to note, their rounds are getting posted from the same rating and slope as the open tees, which means if Mike Lingenfelter playing the forward tees in St. Louis and D2 shoots a 75 and Todd Fearhocken shoots a 75 from the open tees, their index is affected exactly the same way.
Yeah, I think that's
So there we go. Tim, you muted yourself, I think.
Can you get those to Dad? Dad needs them. I'm not coming outside. Go get those.
now.
So I got you now.
Okay, good deal. So so that's one of the big changes we made a few years ago that I think was very important to what we're doing to move forward, is by making that change to rate everyone from in the same division from the same slope and rating, because it allows us to treat everybody equally at that point, even though they're on a different set of tees. So.
Right. No, absolutely. And I think one of the things we've seen over the last year or so, and sorry, I've got mom just walked away from the kids, so it could get a little loud on my end for a minute. It's a family show tonight, so out of the office. So I apologize. We're a little bit displaced, like I said, with the storms yesterday. And
it's a different form of APT after dark.
Correct. Yeah. welcome to my life. But and most of you that are watching have had little kids, and I love all the encouragement and jokes you throw at me. But Richard brings a good comment. But you'll see a lot of 60-plus players playing the open tees, And I think this is really important because there is a handicap disadvantage to it. And so it's really about finding a spot for people to fit in divisions. That's the purpose of it. And it's worked out really well. I mean, you think about John Wayne Parrish that won one of our biggest events of the year. Paul Hess has won majors playing the open tees. Chris Yugi that's talking in the chat he's found a spot that he fits, playing from the open tee yardage. He's 14.5 gin and he's a 14.5 APT playing from those. It makes sense for him to do that. If he plays the forward tees in D4, he goes into D3 where he's in the bottom half of D3. It doesn't really make a ton of sense. So he plays the open tees. Richard Gunn asked a great question. He goes, can I play from the forward tees this Saturday? The answer is no. And the reason being is all forward tee requests you have to apply at the competition committee. There's a form. Chris, I'm going to take you to send him the form in the chat because I don't have it up. So if you can throw that in real quick for Richard, you can always send an email to handicaps@aptgolf.org and we'll send you the form. But we do monitor the forward tees very closely. And so there are parameters to get in. I think this is one of the things in Adam's comments that he's talking about that I think are important is you don't get to become a 13.6 handicap in Division 4 and turn 60 and go, I'm going to play the forward tees. That makes zero sense because we know if you're 13.6 and you move up 300 yards, you're very quickly going to be a 12 and in Division 3. So we don't allow that move. There are other restrictions and things we talk about. And so it is a conversation, and it is a conversation to make sure that you're in the right spot. And so we just ask for those guys that aren't sure about it, keep an open mind because we're really looking to make sure we find a good spot for you to fit and be competitive every week.
Yeah. So just keep in mind that this is unlike everything else nowadays. This is not an AI process. This is something that we are holding close to the vest, and we are spending a lot of time. We have 6 individuals that get on a call every Wednesday. We spend a couple hours every Wednesday, not counting the amount of time that all the chapter owners spend getting things right, getting information to us, and the amount of time that Fagley spends reviewing everything else that we get. So we're spending a lot of human man hours to look at these on one-on-one individual cases. So,
Right.
Everything that we're talking about may or may not apply to your specific situation. That's the crazy thing about it is we are truly looking at these one-on-one and making decisions one at a time.
Will you take my
So
phone? I'll trade you. There you go. Have Dad's phone. So in Bad Parenting 101 at the in-laws, we've got cigar lighters that we're walking around with Collins. So having fun, parenting, doing the live. We're having a good time. Got to nobody died. It's okay. You want to sit up here?
she wants it back.
I know it's not going to happen. So, but anyways, the other piece of it too that I think is interesting as we talk about the forward tee thing is if you look at it once again, a lot of these things you have to look at the bigger picture. If you got rid of the forward tees, everybody's like, we just got to get rid of the forward tees. Like, Mike Lingenfelter becomes the best D3 player in the history of APT. John Todd moves back to D2. You know what I mean? And you're going to have all this shift. It's not like you're just getting rid of those guys. You're going to get guys with lower handicaps. So really what happens if you don't have the forward tees is you have somebody who's a 1 gen playing in Division 2 because the golf course is a little bit too long for him. And you have somebody who's a 6 gen playing in Division 3. What the forward tee actually does for these guys is it puts them in the flight where their gen actually has them and where their skill set is with their hands. And so you remove the fact that they can't get to 2 par 4s and you're matching people of equal skills and you're just taking the edge off so they can be competitive in that division. It actually makes a ton of sense. So that would be the other piece of it. So there you go. Do we have any questions before we sign off? I know we're going late. Fagley's going to be making fun of me. So Chris says this is a good time to plug PDI. Absolutely. So let's plug PDI for a minute. Sam, you haven't been there, so I can handle this one yet. But we are running we're working with the Golf Performance Center out of Ridgefield, Connecticut, which is one of the parent companies or partner companies of PDI, which is Player Development Index. We ran a challenge to get you to take your first self-assessment. To do so, you download the Golf PDI app for free in your app store. Sign up for an account. You can take your first self-assessment for free. We gave away a trip to the North American Championship. That was in May. That was won by none other than Dave Drucker. So Dave won that, but Golf Performance Center decided to up the ante between now and July 9th when we open registration. So you've got time to do this for anybody that logs in and takes 4 self-assessments. Now, there's a couple things you can't do multiples in a day. So you got to do it on different days as you practice. You take 4 self-assessments between now and July 9th, which, by the way, probably won't be that many people. So the odds are going to be really good for this prize. They're giving away $2,500 worth of custom clubs of your choice. So you want that $700 Callaway driver, you'll get that and $1,800 more to spend. So a really cool giveaway. And PDI really plugs in. What's cool about PDI, Tim, and I know we've talked about this, is PDI handicaps your golf game, but not based on score, based on lead indicators of what your skill set is and what your body is capable of doing. So anyways, Golf PDI app. I will say to enter, you're going to have to get a month subscription to their app. It's $4.99. So $4.99, a little bit of your time for a chance to win $2,500 of custom clubs. And we'll announce that on the live the night that we open registration for the North American Championship.
I wonder if people will look at $4.99 versus $2,500 different than they do $30 for $2,500.
I hope so.
Speaking of which,
we had one
of those away in Birmingham a few weeks ago.
And by the way, the $500 hole in one's $500 plus a wingman plus a customized plaque from AP. I mean, it's like a $1,200 prize package by the time it's done, and about $3,500 for the $2,500 holes for $30 for the season.
Yeah. Shout out to Brad Wall from the Birmingham chapter. A couple of events ago, hit a hole in one on the $2,500 hole, and that's what I told him. I was like, "You're going to be at about $3,500 by the time everything's said and done. Get paid for your super skin, and all the other package stuff." So,
right. And you see, Collins, Chris says hi. Can you say hi, Chris? Chris. She's a little shy tonight. Normally, it's a big, loud hi, Chris. It's pretty funny. So, but anyways. Our special guest, the soon-to-be 2-year-old. It's kind of scary how time has flown. So, but we're having fun. Any other questions before we sign off? So, Tim, appreciate you coming on. For those that are late to the party, Tim is one of the members of our competition committee. Does a ton of work behind the scenes to help out APT. The Atlanta and Birmingham chapter owner. We're certainly excited about the direction of both of those chapters. And so lots of exciting stuff coming in the future. And appreciate you joining us, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Next Thursday, we'll be in Branson. We may be able to do a live from Branson. I'm not sure. It's possible. I may not be on it, depending on where we are from a signal perspective, because Branson gets a little sketchy. Sorry, next Thursday we'll be here. I lied. That's 2 Thursdays we'll be in Branson.
I have no idea. I can't look at it. I can't read a calendar, so
I'll be at O'Hare Airport next Thursday, so I would love to jump in for a live. So headed to Seattle to see next weekend. I'm heading to Seattle for their event Saturday, and then Las Vegas for their event Sunday. So it'll be fun. So cool. Well, anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in. We will see you guys next week, and play well this weekend.
Get there. Get there. Get there.
Get there. Those 2 words are said by golfers all over the world as a sign of respect, a whisper of encouragement, a roar of support. It's what we say to our competitors, our loved ones, our heroes. It's what we say to ourselves.
Get there.
At Worldwide Golf, we're like you. We strive to improve our game, to elevate our standards, and transcend our limits. Our commitment is to the journey, to the tradition, and to the spirit of golf that unites us all. Since 1963, Worldwide Golf has been there to supply golfers with the equipment and apparel they need to drive their journeys forward. With over 100 retail locations spread across 10 retail brands and the best golf e-commerce websites, we have exactly what every golfer needs for however they choose to play. All of this done to help golfers who want to be their best get there. We are golfers, and we're here for golfers. We built a brand around evolving the game and having what you need to play your way, and it shows in every product we offer and every experience we provide. Our goal is singular, to help you get there. Though the game may change, our mission remains: to stand beside you, to grow with you, to celebrate every victory and learn from every shot. Worldwide